the hero of Namibia's liberation struggle, Dr. Sam Shafishuna Nujoma, will be laid to rest at the Heroes' Acre on the outskirts of the Namibian capital. This comes after Nujoma passed away at the age of 95 late on Saturday, the 8th of February 2025. The founding president died 1 year and 4 days after Namibia lost its sitting head of state, President Hage Geingob. Like with Geingob, it is expected that thousands of mourners from across the length and breadth of the Republic, as well as the globe, will descend on Windhoek over the next couple of days to pay their last respects to Dr. Nujoma. This evening, on the Wheels of Justice, we aim to systematically unpack what protocols govern a state funeral of this scope and magnitude. Greetings to you and yours, Namibia. I'm Daniel Nadunya, and you are once again watching a very special episode of the Wheels of Justice. So do not move an inch. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back, and this session is officially in motion. This evening, we are joined by Madame Loide Shaparara, the Deputy Chief Legal Advisor at the Office of the Attorney General, as well as Brigadier General Philemon Idimonjila Shafashike, Chief of Staff, Policy and Plans at the Namibian Defence Force. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for making time for the Wheels of Justice. Of course, notwithstanding the circumstances we find ourselves in, I hope we have fortitude to again pull the wheels of justice. Now, perhaps, is there anything that you would want to dispose of or depose of just before we start, Madame Shaparara?
Denver, other than sending my greetings to the mourning nation of Namibia and all the members of the international community that is mesmerizing with us at this point in time, that's the only starting point for tonight for me.
Yes. Commander?
Yes. Good evening, Nadunya, and all the viewers across the 14 region. I'm really honored to be here today for us to discuss this very important matter surrounding the state funeral protocols. As you know, that this is in light with the loss of our founding father of the Namibian nation.
Yes.
And of course, it's very important that the public knows what are those protocols. And I'm honored to be here today and looking forward for a good discussion.
All right, thank you so much. Let's perhaps get started by distinguishing the difference between a state funeral and a hero's funeral. Is there any difference at all? We use these terms interchangeably, and is there a difference at all, Madame Shaparara?
So, Daniel, before we get to the specifics of a state and a hero's funeral, which is actually some sort of misnomer, it is perhaps important for us to start to give context to how does a state funeral and a supposed hero's funeral come to light. What is the constitutional and the legislative or context of it? So in terms of the Constitution, the President is accorded the prerogative to honor residents, friends of Namibia, citizens of Namibia, in consultation with interested and relevant parties. And in order to assist the President in the execution of this function, a law was passed, which is called the Conferment of National Honours Act. And under this act, a national committee is established. And this committee is the committee that assists the president to evaluate and to, in the guidance of this funk prerogative that he has, as to which citizens, residents, friends of Namibia, honors can be conferred to. And there are different types of honors, and honors can be conferred to posthumously or while the particular person is still alive.
Right.
So that is the legal context of it. When we come to the distinction between a hero's funeral and a state funeral, in actual fact, in the legal sense, there is no hero's funeral.
Right.
I think it's a nomenclature that is applied, but the law does not make provision for it. The law makes provision for the conferment of a status of a hero and the conferment of a state funeral or an official funeral. So those are the three, amongst others, the three honors that can be conferred under the Act. I think General can speak to the more operational issues in that regard.
Regarding now, when it comes now on the Namibia Defense Force, of course, right, what she said that there is no hero's funeral. They just state funeral. Then the military will come in to conduct the military protocols.
Right.
So once the proclamation has been made, then it's the rest now with the military to conduct all necessary protocol based on the status of that particular person.
Right.
Is it a former head of state? Is it a minister? Or is it just an individual who have been conferred the honors of a state funeral?
Right.
So in a nutshell, we only have those two categories of funeral, which is a state funeral and official funeral.
Yes.
So we don't have a hero's funeral. A hero is a status that has been conferred to a person. Yes. In a nutshell, that's the explanation I could give.
When somebody has been conferred with the status of a hero, and that particular person dies, and he is to be buried, is it right for one to say he's being given a hero's funeral or burial?
I would say no,
right.
Because as I said, in our classifications, we don't have a hero's funeral. We just have a state funeral. Despite the person have been conferred that hero status, what should be accorded to that person will just be a state funeral.
Right.
Yes.
Now, an official funeral and state funeral, suppose these would be two different things? Are they the same in nature? What is the difference thereof?
Well, not really. It's based on the protocols that have been accorded in that particular funeral.
Right.
Yes. As I said, there are different levels. You find that if it's a president, for example, either sitting or a former president, there are categories that have been they should be accorded to the particular person. Just to give an example, is that for the president there will be 21 gun salute, right. Being a former or sitting president, and the minister there will be 17 gun salute. You know, and it goes down, and as the category goes down. So those are just the different things. The other is you find that there will not be a military procession, for example, or there will be no period of mourning, national mourning. So those are the protocols that differentiate this type of funerals. Yeah.
Maybe still while with you, and of course you can also come in, Madam Shaparara. Can you walk us through the protocols outlining the manner in which such burials ought to be conducted?
Yeah. Yes. Of course, rightly, like what she said, that for a state funeral to be conferred, once it's conferred, there will be a proclamation from the president, and this proclamation will also indicate the period for national mourning. Thereafter, now the National Preparatory Committee will convene to look at the issues of logistic and administrative issues, and it's where now the security cluster come in, particularly the Army Defense Force, come in and issues are discussed and how best to execute the issues surrounding the state funeral. Thereafter now, the defense will be given a task to come up with a plan, because 90%, or let me say 98% of the state funeral surrounds about military protocols.
Right.
Yeah. It now depends on the proclamation as to if the person have been conferred the state funeral status and the days for mourning and what other protocols should be done. So in this case, in our case now for the founding father, maybe I should refer to that.
Yes.
There will be then a street procession. As you see, as we have planned, you have seen what's going on in the regions. That culminates always into a regional memorial service. Then after that, the street processions and or regional activities have undertaken. Then the other protocols will be the 21 gun salute that I have indicated, and then the fly pass. And also the other protocol is the body line state. Some of the protocols, those are the protocols that will be given in the state funeral. So, yeah.
And again, perhaps if you can just explain what does it mean when we say the body will lie in state?
Yeah, the body, when a body lies in state, this is a respect accorded to that particular person.
Right.
And it's a decision that has been taken by the president that he will allow the body to lie in state, and also the days, he will indicate the days, or she will indicate the days, female president. And what this means is that it's the respect accorded to the person that have passed on, and it also gives an opportunity either to the public or to the people to come and pay their last respect. Okay, by viewing the body and so on. So it lies in state. From there on, it will go to the final place for interment.
Right.
Yeah.
Madam Chaparral, let's go back to the Act, that is the Conferment of National Honours Act. Does it then also make provision as to who should be buried at the Heroes' Acre or any other maybe burial sites?
Thank you, Daniel. So the National Conferment Act does not specify who. Instead, there is a process that is being followed. As I indicated earlier, the Constitution, both the Constitution and the Act requires consultation, and that a recommendation, evaluation is made of the character, conduct, qualities. And the qualifier for being accorded the honor of a hero is that you have either displayed character, conduct, qualities that is significant or of an extraordinary nature that was for the public good or for the betterment of the Namibian nation. So that's the qualifier. And definitions is provided as to what is meant by an heroic act, what is meant by a hero. And if through the evaluation by the National Conferment Committee, it is found that this particular individual is deserving of being conferred the status, the committee makes this recommendation to the president, who then exercises his prerogative, because this is a prerogative. So we must also understand that the right to be conferred, there's no entitlement to be conferred the status of, or to be conferred with any honor. Let me put it that way.
Right.
So this is the prerogative, the exclusive prerogative of the president, as well as actually an honor, as the name suggests, that there is no entitlement to it. And this is a presidential prerogative that is guided by the consultations and evaluation criteria that we set out in the Act.
Right.
So the committee has a criteria that's part of the regulations, and they use that criteria to determine whether a particular individual has performed, displayed character, qualities, or has engaged in conduct that is extraordinary and that has benefited and bettered the Namibian nation.
All right. But just to still understand, because your hero might not necessarily be my hero. But in this case, who qualifies to be a hero? What is a hero?
I think, Daniel, we must understand that the law is not an instrument of mathematical precision.
Right.
And rightly because the concept might be fluid, and the meaning ascribed to it might be different for different communities, different. But I think objectively considered, the beauty of the committee is that the committee is made up of veterans, the youth, somebody representing people with disabilities, NDF, the security cluster. So there is a variety, a multi-plural perspectives and views that is applied to analyze and to come to the conclusion of whether a person is deserving of this honor or not. So I think that we can come to an objective based on the criteria that's in the law, an objective assessment as to who deserves this and who doesn't. So while I understand that there's both the risk in defining this with inexact precision as well as leaving it fluid, but I think we will have better, the Act will achieve its objectives better in the context that it is set.
But can we also then be right to say this status is not limited to politicians, because that is the perception out there that this status is only accorded or conferred to politicians?
So Daniel, I think like I mentioned in the beginning, the Constitution says citizens, residents,
right,
and friends
okay,
of Namibia.
Okay.
So I think it is inapt for us to consider that these honors are reserved for extraordinary people. I think over the course of this past 2 weeks that we have had of the mourning process, and having sat through the tributes and the eulogies that was delivered, we can come to the conclusion that this was as extraordinary and heroic as his deeds was. The founding president was an ordinary man from the Tuna village that had extraordinary courage, that displayed extraordinary resilience, that for the betterment of a country outside himself. And that based on that, I don't think he's deserving of the honor that is bestowed on him. So I think it is non-defined or non-determinable criteria, but it can be ascertained with objective ease.
Yes.
Yeah.
One ought to be known, definitely, a citizen, but known by maybe the community where he or she serves, those heroic acts, for them to be perhaps classified as heroes. But can a community then apply, or who does the community approach to say, no, look, this man or this lady is a hero in our eye. From where we stand, this is what she does, or this is what she has been doing, and we consider that to be a heroic act. Can they approach the president to have whosoever they feel that needs to be honored as a hero, then declared as a hero by the president?
So certainly, if there is anyone that, based on the criteria that is set in the Act,
yes,
holds the view that a particular individual qualifies to be conferred with these honors, they are certainly free to approach the office of the president and or the National Honors Committee and make the submission and also present the evidence to the effect that substantiates that the requirements of the Act has been complied with. So I think it is a mistaken belief and an error, actually, for us as a country to hold the view that the honors are reserved for a particular cluster or category of people. And that the qualifier is always whether your actions was for the public good or for the betterment of the nation, because that is the qualifiers in the Act.
There have been requests, for example, General, in the past, for what some may refer to as ordinary Namibians remains to also be interred at the Heroes Acre, who may be buried there at the Heroes Acre?
Yeah, I just want to borrow what you said, that
yes.
Once the recommendation has been made by the committee and the proclamation has been made by the president, it will then indicate, as I have indicated earlier, it will indicate the period for mourning and the site for burial. Okay, so this is still the decision of the president.
Yes.
To decide where this particular person is going to be buried. So is it at the Heroes Acre or is it at the site, any other alternative site? So that's how it is. A person cannot really decide that I want to be buried at Heroes Acre. It should be a decision of the president that is provided in the proclamation that indicate the mourning period and as well as the conferment of the state funeral and the site where the person is to be buried.
So an ordinary citizen?
No, he should go through what she was just explaining.
I have reservations that we distinguish because this is it's not apt. I have reservations that we refer to ordinary and I don't know, is there extraordinary citizens, because this undermines the very foundations.
Can it be right to say
of our democracy and the principles which the founding father fought for?
Yes.
Because in Namibia there is equality of persons. So it is not about who you are; it's about what you do.
Right.
And the scope of that what you do affects the Namibian people, and that's how we must look at it instead of ordinary and extraordinary people.
Right. One would say a hero, or one who's considered or conferred to be a hero, is extraordinary. It's in that context.
In that context, yes. In that context, yes. But the qualifier is what was the benefit of your conduct towards the Namibian people. And that's what's the qualifier.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, fellow Namibians. You're watching The Wheels of Justice. We'll now take a brief pause before we resume the session. Keep it locked here on your home channel. Welcome back, Namibia. Thank you for staying with us. You can now engage our distinguished panel with any questions and or clarifications. The number in the studio is 061-291-3339. That is 061-291-3339. And this conversation continues in the meantime. Now, again, in general, we spoke about the committee that is responsible for basically recommending to the head of state as to who gets laid to rest at the Heroes Acre and so forth. Does this committee also have somebody from the traditional authority, perhaps, that represents the traditional authority?
Yes, it has. There's the representative from all walks of life. Yes,
right.
It's indicated. The Ministry of Defense is also represented. The traditional authority is represented. A number of ministries are represented, and the veterans are represented through the Ministry of Defense, and the people with disability are also represented. The sport people in the sport, they are also represented. So it mostly represents all aspects within the Namibia context. So rightly, it's so that it provides them with to be able, whenever a submission is made, they will be able to apply their mind correctly, as all codes, or let me say perhaps all fields are being represented in that particular committee. That's why when she was explaining that, you know, we should differentiate between extraordinary person and ordinary person. So it means anybody, any citizen, as provided in the Act, our friends, can, through that committee, be recommended to be confer either hero status or confer with a state funeral.
I think I just want to add, Daniel, the Act also actually mandates the committee to consult on all interested and relevant persons and institutions. So there's a mandate on the committee to consult widely before they make the recommendation to the committee. So that is also a requirement under the Act.
Yes. Now, there is a caller who wishes to stay anonymous, but wants to know why are pictures not allowed during the procession? For example, the memorial services of the late founding president. Why are pictures not allowed?
Well,
and perhaps what are the consequences if one is found to be taking pictures?
Of course, the consequences by law. I believe she will assist me.
Right.
But, you know, this is an extraordinary man or any other person. Yeah. And we are saying that you can take pictures from a far distance, not during the time that you are viewing the body, because I don't think that anybody within the country will take it lightly to see the body of or the remains of our founding father circulating over social media. It will not look good. It will also not reflect good to our country. And hence we have put up a restriction to say no. Yes, you can take photos of the procession, you can do whatever you want to do, as long as when it's time for you to view the body, it's not allowed to take photos.
Not,
this is just
not particularly at the coffin
not
or
at the coffin,
body.
yes, it's not allowed. It's just to protect the legacy of our founding father that he have left for us. We need to respect that by all costs.
Yes. Yeah. Perhaps Madam Shaparara will then assist us with the consequences thereof.
I think from a legal perspective, it's also just the protection of privacy, which is a constitutional right.
Right.
And that you are entitled to this privacy, even it's the privacy of the late founding president, but also the family. So that's what it is. So in terms of the protocols, I think if you are contravening a state protocol, it's criminal liability. So you are laying yourself open to criminal liability because you have contravened funeral protocols that is published under the Conferment Act. So you are liable upon conviction. It's either a sentence or you can even go to prison.
Right.
Custodial sentence.
Thank you so much. Let's hear from Mr. Kaseb from Swakopmund. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, evening, sir.
Yes.
I want to ask, man.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, two questions. Number one, Frank Fredericks, for example. Frank Fredericks is an icon. He has achieved such a gratitude in his life with athletics. Does he qualify to be buried at Heroes Acre? Or he does not qualify to be buried at Heroes Acre? Okay, if the president now decides this president must be buried at Heroes Acre, can the family dictate to say, no, we don't want that? You get my question, sir?
Thank you so much for your questions.
All right.
Well,
So I think it's the same answer as we mentioned previously, because I don't think it's, as an armchair critic, we can sit here today. But if and when this issue is presented to the committee will have to look at the criteria that is set in the law and whether Mr. Fredericks qualifies with that, and recommend that to the president, and the president can confer. So I don't think that's what the nation needs to understand, that this is a process, and it is not whimsical that it is how Lloyd feels about this, but it is the objective criteria that is in the Act. Does this particular person qualify with all of it? And would it justify the conferment of a hero's the status of a hero? Would it justify the conferment of a state funeral? Would it justify the conferment of the honor of being interred at the hero's acre? That is a question that I don't think is determinable. Like I said, it's the exclusive prerogative of the president, and based on the criteria that is set in the law.
Maybe I should tackle the issue of the consultation with family.
Yes.
Yes, throughout this whole process, once it has been decided or the proclamation has been made that it's a state funeral for that particular individual, the family is consulted throughout. Okay, it's consulted, it's been explained properly what is the government protocols, what is going to be done, because this is a government program. So, but then the question is if the family decide otherwise for the person not to be buried at hero's acre.
Yes,
it's at the discretion of the family.
Surely, General, you'll proceed to answer that question after hearing from Mr. K from Walvis Bay. Good evening, sir. Mr. K, are you still with us? Yes.
Still, I want to ask a question.
Right, go ahead.
Yes, I'm concerning about about photos taking when people were at Rundu. Two ladies, they were taking photos on the open casket of the body view. What I feel so very bad, what is not good. What are you going to do with those two ladies that took those photos?
Right.
It's open. Two ladies. Everybody said they were taking photos. And what is not very good. We don't feel very good when those ladies have done in Rundu.
Right. Thank you so much for your concern as well.
Thanks.
Right. General, I think you can proceed as you answer the previous question, but also tying in with.
Yes. I was saying that the family is being consulted throughout.
Yes.
But and explain as to how the state funeral will be unfolded and be conducted. And however, the last decision lies with the government. But if the family decides to say the remains of our family member is to be buried at another site, then that will be respected. But the government will still accord to that person a state funeral, and all the program will be run as per the government directives.
Right.
Yes.
What if a hero does not want to be buried at the hero's acre and he or she makes their wishes expressly clear in a written will, duly signed? What happens then?
I think, Daniel, it's the same principle, because there is the consultation process that precedes the decision. So if and when a particular hero has expressly renounced, because that would be a renunciation of the conferment, then I think the government, being the government and respecting the views of...
No, but just to be clear, the hero does not renounce their hero's status. They basically say, as hero as I may be, I still want to be buried at my village. Therefore, I do not want to be buried at the hero's acre. The hero does not basically say you don't afford them the state funeral and whatever protocol that may be, but they just don't want to be buried at the hero's acre.
So that wish will be respected. If like the General just mentioned, the wish will be respected. And then we must also understand that the conferment of the status of a hero, the interment, they are actually under two different subsections in the Act. Right. So it's not a conjunctive conferment. Those are two different statuses that is conferred. So you can accept, I am conferred the status of a hero, but then the president don't have to confer the honor of me being interred at the hero's acre, but it will be at a site of choice.
Right.
Of the family's
Thank you
choice.
so much. Let's hear from Mr. Anytime from Tsumeb. Mr. Anytime, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Nadunya. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Your contribution?
Yeah, it's just a question on the status of the hero's acre. Let's say, for instance, the family, our brother is buried at the hero's acre. Now, upon visiting, maybe the family wants to go and visit where their brother, their son has been laid to rest at the Heroes Acre. Are there some charges to be charged? And if so, why? Because they are going to see where their beloved son or brother or sister is laid to rest, whereby as if it was where the person comes from, it couldn't be some charges upon visiting the graves. Yeah, maybe they can address that one. Thank you.
Right, thank you, sir.
So I will start by saying the Heroes Acre is classified as a heritage site in Namibia. So that classification happens under the National Heritage Act 2007. Now, these sites are classified because for educational, historical, and heritage, to preserve the heritage of the country. And the mandate is given to the Heritage Council to conserve, protect, and manage these sites, because the underlying assumption is that we want the sites to remain for future generations, for educational purposes, for research purposes, so that after all of us are gone, far gone, and the children can still go to the Heroes Acre and know this was our founding president, this is where our founding presidents were interred. So the council is also provided with the authority to establish regulations around access and control to these sites. And in terms of these sites, there's different access rights, if we may call it that way, for educational purposes, if you are tourists, or for the purposes that the college has described. But the council will have to be approached. In the access, they usually have guidelines that they submit.
So one would have to approach the council anytime they want to go and pay a visit to their loved one's grave.
Yes.
Right. Perhaps there was a question from the caller as to what would happen to an incident that took place in Rundu.
Yeah. This calls for a responsible citizen.
Right.
We have to be responsible citizen because we have through various platforms informing the people to say, when you come close to the casket, don't take photos. Obviously, the security clusters on the ground hopefully have taken note of this incident and will deal with it appropriately. To make sure that at least this issue is not being repeated as we continue paying the necessary respect to our founding father. Yes. It's just disturbing that some of these kind of issues are still happening.
Yes. Perhaps let's take us through what will happen or what is expected to happen on the 28th of February 2025.
Yes.
That is the Friday.
Yeah, the Friday. Yeah. Perhaps in Windhoek itself, we have three activities that are going to take place. And if you allow me to start with the 27th rather, because Windhoek will serve as the commerce region procession in memorial service, though despite the fact that there will be a national memorial service here in Windhoek. So on the 27th, the procession will arrive from Keetmanshoop, from Karas region. We are expecting that they will be at Hosea Kutako International Airport by 8:30. And then the procession will then move from Hosea Kutako on the 27th through some of the selected streets. I will not want to go through them, but they are prominent streets within our history of our liberation struggle. And then it will rather culminate into the body laying state at Parliament Garden. And we are expecting that the people in Windhoek will have that opportunity, including on my region, in part of Ochezo Jupa, Kanja, and part of Artap to come and pay their last respect during that street procession on the 27th. Now, on the 28th, as I said, the body will overnight in Parliament Garden. On the 28th in the morning, the body will then move the procession. The procession will now move from Parliament Garden to Independence Stadium, where the memorial service, the National Memorial Service, will take place. We are sure that the body will be there 15 minutes before the main event starts. So that will just be a national memorial service, and then the body after the memorial service will lie in state again until the 1st of March, where on the 1st of March at 9:30, the procession will start off at Independence Stadium, and then also through some of the prominent streets that were chosen, and then to Heroes Acre, where it will then be received by Commander-in-Chief, and then it will be then escorted by a battalion plus, that's almost close to 1,000 troops, that will escort the body marching to Heroes Acre. It will be escorted by also helicopters as area protection, and the procession as you have been seeing it. The one in Windhoek is different from the one that we at the region, because this is the major one. And then they will then, before the final interment, there will be 21 gun salute and a fly pass by our Air Force. And again, that fly pass, one of the aircraft will depict a lost man. You know, that we have lost the founding father.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then
that is the major difference.
Yeah, that's the major difference, that will be there during now the 1st of March. So,
right.
Yeah, those are the military activities that will be there.
Right.
The first, yeah.
Madam Shaparara, as we wrap up, my question is almost similar to the question that was asked by the caller. But previously, anyone was permitted to visit the Heroes Acre and even enjoy refreshment at the restaurant on the premises. But now, following last year and the imminent interment of the remains of our founding president, and of course, we know that last year our sitting president, Dr. Hage Geingob, was also buried at the Heroes Acre. Are we most likely to see these protocols adjusted so as maybe not to really allow anybody to just go in the Heroes Acre and so forth?
So Daniel, I think it speaks for itself that if an interment of this magnitude and nature, it requires a lot of preparatory work. It requires a lot of, even aftercare, rehabilitation. And like we've mentioned earlier, this is a national heritage site. So this is not a cooker shop, for the lack of a better word.
It was never a cooker shop in the first place, but people were allowed in.
Yes. So I think it's the understanding that the nation must cultivate,
right,
that there is preparatory work. There is structures that have to be erected. The mausoleum have to be prepared.
Yes.
And this requires some reservation to protect both the site and the public. Because if anything goes wrong, that liability will also be based on the Heritage Council and
yes,
subsequently on government. So this is, I think it's just the understanding that the nature of the interment that we are preparing for is of such a magnitude that I think we can make the small sacrifice as a country, say, let's allow for the preparatory work, let's allow, because it's intelligence. We have a lot of dignitaries from outside the country that will be here. We have to secure their safety, the protection. So there's so much that needs to go, preparatory work,
yes,
from all fronts, and that we must just indulge, extend this indulgence for these purposes.
Yes. Yeah. Any addition to that?
No, she's correct. Obviously, there will be adjustment. The security details will obviously be adjusted. Obviously, since last year, Heroes Acre became a national interest, you know. It's one of our national interests. So obviously, the right time, as their security details are going to be adjusted, it will make known to the public as to what are the security protocols on the part of security at the later stage. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You're watching The Wheels of Justice on NBC One, but when we return, it's time to dive into the jargon of the day. Welcome back. Let's have regard to our customary jargon of the day. Today, we have two terms, conferment and mausoleum.
Okay. So conferment refers to the vesting of an honor in this context. So it will be that the honor is vested by proclamation of the state, the president, on a particular person.
Right.
So that will be, we would then say the president has conferred the honor of a hero on the founding president.
General, would you help us understand what a mausoleum is?
Mausoleum. I don't want to play around with the definition of English. Yeah. But yes, in a layman's explanation, language and explanation,
yes.
And mausoleum is a place where remains are being buried. Okay? It's in the olden days, in the 1817s, this had been used, okay, where they bury the remains and underground and so on. Now, in our case, we have them at Heroes Acre, and is the one will be used to bury the remains of our founding father.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Thank you so much, Madam Shaparara and General, of course, for making time for the wheels of justice. Unfortunately, time has caught up with us, but let me give you 30 seconds each for your concluding remarks. Let's start with you, Madam Shaparara, briefly.
So this is a time of national and personal reflection. I think a reflection on the founding values and principles of us as a state, as a nation. And it is my hope that in the course of what is left of the mourning period and beyond, we will find a profound or newfound appreciation for the personal cost and sacrifice that our independence took, and that was made by the founding president and so many others for us to enjoy the freedoms that we so often take for granted. And
yes,
that the founding president's soul finds eternal repose.
Thank you so much. General, any parting words?
Yes. From the last caller that gave us that issue that have happened, the disturbing issue. Firstly, I just want again to urge the public to abide to the security protocols that have been provided and the guidance that have been provided both from the police and the members of the Namibia Defense Force, so that at least we accord our founding father the befitting state funeral that he deserves. Perhaps lastly, it's just as Namibians for us to unite at this time around. We have lost an icon, which one cannot really describe. But what I can say is that let his revolutionary spirit guide the future of this country going forward. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much again for making time for the wheels of justice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nadunya.
Fellow Namibians, a dark cloud continues to hover over the land of the brave as we have entered the final week of mourning, as we prepare to lay to rest one of the most gallant sons of the soil. Let us commit ourselves to the values of respect, honor, and dignity as we bid our founding president, Dr. Sam Shafishuna Nujoma, farewell this coming weekend in accordance with the established protocols. May his revolutionary spirit continue to live on, but with that, we've now come to the end of this week's proceedings. I'm Daniel Nadunya, and this program is adjourned until next Sunday.